So I finally got some coilovers for the Z, and I'm going to try and make a step-by-step tutorial on how to install them. These are my coils of choice. I drove one of my buddy's son's car with BCs on and it was really good. So we're gonna put these in. So the tools you need for the front is a 14, a 17, and a huge breaker bar. So for the front suspension, there's going to be 2 bolts. I'm going to unbolt it and take off the caliper, as well as cut this plate here so that they can all come off together. And there are 2 bolts at the bottom of the knuckle and 3 bolts on the top hat. Going to try and show now. Pretty tight in here. The caliper bolts, I'm going to try this one and this one up here. So I got the 2 bolts off and the bracket is cut. Now we can take this off. I got the caliper off, and the next 2 bolts are here and here, and there they are there. So after some struggling, it's off. It's here, and it's just those 2, these 2, and those 3. So I've marked out the 45mm gap, but I left a little bit extra so I can have extra material. So with the Sawzall metal blade, I'm gonna try and cut through both the thing and the shock. This is very bad, but I'm scared of opening this and having the spring go everywhere, so we're just gonna. So in this next trick, I scored a line around the strut. I actually cut pretty deep with the angle grinder, but the Sawzall took the rest of the way. I got pretty lucky. It didn't spray out, but my other struts did. So this is what they look like now. The cutting wasn't as bad as I thought. The hydraulic fluid kind of just flowed out. So if you have some towels, it'd be okay. I grinded it down for welding. Now I'm going to mock up the coilover. So these are the BC Racing boots, and they hit this bump on the OEM knuckle. I think everyone knows about this gimmick now. So I'm going to cut out a little triangle. So this one, I've already done it. And if you sleeve it on, it sits flush, bottomed out. So now I can lay a seam. It's got a nice little valley there. If you don't cut it, it looks like this. This is much better. Now that they're both on their flush, I'm actually going to lay some paint on these bare metal bits so they don't rust. And then I'm going to put my bead down. So for some reason, these don't sit perfect 90 degrees. You'll notice they'll have a positive, negative camber kind of tilt. And this is me trying to make sure that it's perpendicular. And then I laid the rest of the bead down. I just finished welding both of the boots in. Now to reassemble. For reinstalling, I'm using a jack and a piece of wood to push up against the knuckle. And I also pivot this as well as swing this around until it lines up. When you put it together, the 2 bolts are actually different sizes. You'll have a long one and a short one. Time to cut this off of the old brake line since we have the new one. This bracket that came with the BCs is the wrong orientation, so I'm going to bend it flat so it can stand like this. So this is now done. I torqued the living hell out of these 2 17 mils. If anybody know the torque spec for this, please let me know. This is how I have the brake line holder situated. Now to do the other side, and then we go to the rear. So here I am at the rear. I'm going to take off those 3 top bolts, disconnect the e-brake cable at this Clovis pin, and then underneath disconnect these 2 for the A-arm, and then up there should be another pair That should drop the entire A-arm, and it should be good. Okay, change of plans. I can't get these 4 bolts off. I just don't have the correct tools to get into this back one. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop the top down and cut it while everything's still in here. This e-brake was actually the Clovis pin right here, and then you pop out the sliding wedge, and you push back and then slide it through right here. Slide it out. That took me a while to figure out. Mad update. As you can see, it worked, leaving the axle connected. It was just hard to get my Sawzall in here at a certain angle, but I cut 3/4 this way, and then I snuck the blade in right here, and I cut the rest this way, and it looks pretty good. Now I'm gonna take off the 3 bolts and drop a shock. So I'm pretty much going to do the same as the front now, only a little bit harder because of the cramped space, but I'm going to sand down here, prep it for paint. I'm gonna put a pretty heavy chamfer on it this time, and on the coilover as well. So just like that, 1 corner is done. Overall, this took me 4 hours, and literally the only thing I took off was the e-brake. So when putting this back in, this slider, I had to fandangle the rotation of this, but the Clovis pin comes in easy. And most of this was trying to fit my welding helmet in this wheel well, but here's my weld. I got it mostly around, except for one about maybe 5 millimeters right here up against the hub. But there it is, it's done. I'm gonna go do the other corner now. I just finished cutting the passenger side rear, and it's way harder than the driver's side rear. I just wanted to make this clip because the gas tank is in the way, so I couldn't put my Sawzall in a certain angle, so my guy is pretty slanted, but that's okay. I'm gonna weld it up. Home stretch. That's my finished product. You can see the difference between lowering springs and then my coilovers. This took me 10.5 hours to do the front, 8.5 hours to do the back, so about 19-20 hours overall. I hope this video helped. Thanks, guys.